was the leader, and he ain't take no ish neither. He may have been broke, but he never been. And if a bully told him not to go somewhere, that was the first place he went. His brothers called him George, after the great George Washington. They'd heard about him in the stories that led America to victory over the British. And when their tummies ached, he made them Johnny cakes for dinner. The second was born with a cleft lip to make up for it. He spent his early years trying to get fit. He made it into a muscle mag, still insecure though anytime his feathers ruffle, quick to tussle fast. Veins on his biceps, disco status, gold chains on his bare chest. He was big in the clubs, dated celebrities and dabbled in drugs. But instead of getting caught up in the madness, found himself in the church. Studied verses, ain't forget nobody's birthday. First played the saxophone his girl when she was only a child, but kept it tight with us, and daddy loved to travel, settled down. The 5 Chinese brothers, their pops would be a man, they were stranded by their mother. More than once they had to run for cover. The only way to avoid the pen of death was to depend on one another. The 5 Chinese brothers, raised in the sun that was raised in the gutter. But some found it hard to discover the strength, size of strength in their numbers. The third loved comics, looked up to Daredevil and Spider-Man. He grew up mad brolic. Shoeshine boy, the bouncer slash boxer, will recognize work for wise guys and mobsters. Never said the word can't, lead a man in a foreign film and the Golden Gloves champ. Within half hour of meeting, his wife confirmed their first date. A month later, they got their first place. The fourth was a fat one, gang of illegitimate children. He was clearly his dad's son. Ill and ill-regarded, he loved to fib and never finished anything he started. He would puff out his chest while he bragged to little kids how he could beat him at chess. Exactly the type of fool this system so corrupted up the guidance counselor at a high school. Wiped up an insecure student who later tried to stab him, being the reason the life was ruined. The third would try and get him off the hook. He was a lawyer now, but mostly people paid him off the books. The 5 Chinese brothers, their pops would be a man, they were stranded by their mother. More than once they had to run for cover. The only way to avoid the pen of death was to depend on one another. The 5 Chinese brothers, raised in the sun that was raised in the gutter. But some found it hard to discover the strength, size of strength in their numbers. The fifth couldn't dabble like the second, got off on acting reckless till his life was turned to wreckage. He always needed cash, which he was ashamed to say, though he was never afraid to ask. The high was all he cared about, but his brothers never bailed on him, they always bailed him out. Couldn't smoke it, he would shoot it, couldn't shoot it, he was snorted. Went to court for every sort until he got deported. 1 in 3 would never age, ain't no joke, one had a stroke and shook it off in a couple days. 2 was reformed from the life that he'd led. Thankfully, when he even had brought 3 a knife right to the head. For defending his bro, they don't took him 4 and 5 when they had nowhere to go. 4 was too pompous and envious to act better. 5 wrote letters, 3 ducked creditors. Once 2 started to smile and stuck. 1 never had no kids cause he'd already raised enough. The 5 Chinese brothers, all perfect, some more than others. The 5 Chinese brothers, their pops would be a man, they were stranded by their mother. More than once they had to run for cover. The only way to avoid the pen of death was to depend on one another. The 5 Chinese brothers, raised in the sun that was raised in the gutter. But some found it hard to discover the strength, size of strength in their numbers.